Welcome to How to Run Profitable Retreats podcast, the podcast that guides you not to only host retreats that thrive financially, but also transform people's lives. I'm your host, Lainey Cavazos, and each week I bring you the best strategies and personal insights to help you create retreat experiences that transform lives, both your clients and your own. In our journey together, we'll dive into the secrets behind successful retreats, from crafting a unique atmosphere to mastering the logistics that ensure profitability. Whether you're tuning in for inspiring interviews with leading retreat experts or seeking actionable advice in our solo episodes, this podcast is your go-to resource for turning your retreat visions into reality. Don't miss out on any of our episodes and subscribe now. For more tools and a free guide on creating your own six-figure retreat business, visit theretreatplanner.com. Now let's get started and make your retreat dreams come true. Welcome back to another episode of How to Run Profitable Retreats. I'm your host, Lainey Cavazos, and today I'm so thrilled to have Lauren, because Lauren is a brilliance activator, shining the light into your soul and calling for your unique magic and creative genius into the world. Honestly, this is like great description for her, but really she helps people how to plan retreats around the world. So you definitely do not want to miss this conversation where we're going to be talking about the art of conscious travel and why it's so important. So through her stories and 20 years of experience in the healing arts, her mission is to help you activate your divine soul's purpose and ignite your soul's passion through quantum soul coaching, transformational retreats with her company, Orion Retreats. And we're going to be focusing on retreats today, as this is a podcast about retreats, right? Or just having a cup of coffee and reflecting your innate brilliance back to you. Lauren, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. And so nice to finally meet you. Yeah.
Yes, right. It's amazing to like meet other fellow retreat leaders in the space and just seeing all the possibilities that are out there in the world for more people to be able to host retreats, profit from them, and really keep sharing their light with others, right? Sharing transformation, helping the world become a better place.
Absolutely. One retreat at a time.
I love that. Yes, one retreat at a time, right? I've been to so many retreats. It's like absolutely insane. And I have to say, like, the first retreat I went to, I left halfway.
Oh
It
my
was
gosh,
so,
really?
so bad. And
Yeah.
I was like, no more retreats for me. And then I started going to more, and like, like life happened, and like retreats started like popping into my space. And then I had retreats that like absolutely changed my life. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is the real deal.
Yeah. Well, imagine that what kind of like an experience that you have is like now you know what not to do. And then you have like the best of both worlds. It's like, well, this is what worked and this is what didn't. And now you get to like pave your way through that. That's neat.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like honestly, it was a, like I think it's something that is very important, and maybe we can start our conversation with this. Is like inside of a retreat, you need to feel safe.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think I wrote a book actually recently called The Neuroscience of Retreats, and we actually dive into that about how like retreats are a great way to escape, unplug, but like really it's the science behind it is like getting safe, but being in that environment where your nervous system can like start to regulate. You know, we have all these external stressors and we have all this like life that's go, go, go. And like the beauty of the retreats is like you get a break from that, and like when you have to be in that state of safety for you to like then start to open up and accept the transformation that's being offered to you, and not just like jam packing a retreat itinerary full of activities and workshops, but like allowing that space for like someone just to really like be and feel held in that retreat experience.
Yeah, I think this is something that we get to see a lot in the industry, right? I see it a lot, usually in like retreats that are very focused on yoga. So there's like, I know, and yoga has so many different like layers and spaces, and it's not just the asanas, it's not the body movement. But a lot of people come to yoga retreats, they're gonna like, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna become more flexible. And then like people tend to pack yoga retreats with like 6 a.m. practice, all the way until 10 p.m. And there's very rarely any time to integrate what's going on. And then by the time you're done, you're like, oh, like I've been there, right? In those. And I'm like, now I need a couple of days to just like come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like that you use the example of yoga retreats, because there's so much, as you know, so many more types of retreats than just yoga. And that's what the message that, people like us, we need to get out there more too, is like, you can have any kind of transformation, and like the settling into yourself is what the most beautiful gift is of all of that.
Yeah, yeah, I do believe that so many times, like really the magic is in the space between the activities, the planning. It's in those times where people get to actually go inwards and reflect on what's happening, like
Yeah.
the knowledge, right? Um, a good friend of mine who's a yoga teacher, he says the movement happens on the yoga mat, but the transformation happens off the mat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yoga
So
off the mat. Yeah.
yeah, so definitely we need to always consider that when we're thinking about how can we consciously create retreats.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you nailed it. How to consciously do that, and how to create those experiences, how to create a beautiful like map of each person's like journey. And we work with a framework that is also based on neuroscience. When we help our retreat clients build their itineraries, like you can only have so much content, and then the brain will just like start to like replace the old information with new information. So you have to like have like more breaks. You have a downtime. Then you can like do something like more gentle content later. But like you have to have a beautiful flow to it. Otherwise, you can put your retreat guests into overwhelm fairly easily by trying to do too much.
Yeah, exactly. I think also something like, that has come up and like, like I've overseen so many, like over, I think like 60 retreats or something in my time. And at the beginning, I used to do this so much more, right? And I remember like very clearly that there were like these moments where like also like you were like, you have to come to the activities, right? And I've heard this from like a lot of my clients. They're like, I've been to a retreat and there was kind of like a moment where there was a little bit of shame if I didn't show up to the activities, right? If I felt tired and I didn't want to go, it's like, oh, but you're missing out. You're, like kind of creating FOMO inside of the retreat.
Yeah.
I think that's something that also we need to really understand that if we're giving people, yes, like you're highly encouraged to come into the activities. But if you do not feel like going on a hike for 3, 4 hours because you've been exhausted in your job,
Yeah.
you you shouldn't have to. Right?
Absolutely. I fully agree. Like keeping some things optional. Like I agree with like, yeah, some of the workshops and the actual content, even that should be like, hey, if you really don't want to, you don't have to. But like then you're only sacrificing like your own, time on that and your own investment in the retreat. But like, yeah, the external activities that aren't as like core content for the retreat, that should be definitely optional. Like people again need that nervous system reset. And like you said, if people are just constantly doing and going, then they go to retreat because they don't want to keep doing that. They want to break from that. And I think that that's really important for retreat leaders to maintain, to be mindful of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is like so important when we're thinking about like how do we curate the retreat. And like I think also something is important is when we understand our ideal client. Why
Mm.
are they coming to the retreat?
Mm. Yes,
Then you can actually create something that is really for them. It's really intentional.
absolutely. Yeah, I really love that. Yeah, are they the type of person that's going to want to be jam-packed? Are they going to want to like have downtime where they can actually like meet other people who are going through the same things that they're going through? What if you need more social time, more community? Like some of the most beautiful like aspects of a retreat is not just what they come to learn, but like the people that they meet. I mean, they're meeting best friends for the rest of their lives. And if you don't have time to just relax into that and connect with them, then you're missing out on a whole big opportunity to allow your guests to have a transformation that's even outside of what you intend to teach or outside of your intentions. And so just allowing that is so important.
Yeah, I think that really brings so many pieces together when it comes when you're creating a conscious retreat, right? Like conscious travel. Because if you really think about it, like one of the core benefits of a retreat is that you're going to go to a place and you choose to go, except for like corporate retreats, right? But in like a regular retreat space, you're choosing to go there because you're looking for a certain result, whatever it is, right? Like manage your nervous system, find a new career,
learn patchwork, whatever it is. You chose because that retreat fits and it's aligned with what you want to create for your life, right?
Mhm.
And because of that, that means that every single person who's coming has something in common with you.
Yes. We just got chills. Yes.
Yes. Right. You're meeting a group of people who are all in alignment with what you want to create for your life. It's like I always like to remind people, like, you know, we're the average of the vibrational energy of the 5 people around us. So you
Mm.
want to be like surrounded by those people, right? The same way they say that if you have 5 friends who are millionaires, it's very, very likely you'll be the sixth one
Mm.
because we're in that space. They're gonna pull you up. And that's why we want to go to retreats. That's why in-person experiences are so, so powerful.
Mhm.
And if we don't allow that inside of like the itinerary for people to nurture this space where they get to see that they're not alone in the journey, right? Like
Mhm.
then we're like taking away a big piece of the transformation and of that space where they can feel like, oh, I'm not alone. I thought
Yeah.
everyone like, you know, was like everyone was already a CEO or everyone was that, or, you know, and then you're like, oh, not everyone knows how to do patchwork. I don't know how to do that stitch. And that person also doesn't do it. Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
okay. I'm
Yeah.
good. Perfect.
You bring up a really, really good point inherent in that is like a lot of especially for like new time retreat guests. They may think, oh, I've never done this. I don't know how to do a retreat. I don't know how to like go into any kind of like self-doubt or shame spiral, which may have like stopped them from doing this kind of work or seeking a retreat to help them with this. And so when they show up, not only hearing other people's struggles and challenges and being inspired by other people, but I think there's something very inherently validating in that, knowing that they may end up knowing things more than other people as well, and to have like this reciprocal like energy coming back is like, oh, well, where I feel like I lack in this one area, I'm strong in this other area. And my message, my story, my journey has helped this other person. So not just like receiving just from other people, but to feel in that space where you have so much more to give too because of your experience. And that's where like the true transformation really starts to get like anchored into ourselves, is like, I am of value here, not just the things that I'm getting for other people or the teacher. It's like I'm meant to be here, and my wounds, my journey, they've all served a purpose as well. Because now, look, I can talk to somebody else who might get something from what what I've been through.
Hmm. Yeah, I think this is absolutely so important because so many times we're just like so busy in life, right? We're like, oh, if you're an entrepreneur, oh my gosh, you know, like it can be crazy. Like at least at the beginning, right? Later on, you can figure out how you want your life to look like, and then you create it. At the beginning, you're like, you know, sometimes running like a headless chicken. You're like, oh my gosh, I want to do this and I want to do that, and
Yeah.
then you know, there's so many things.
You quit your 9 to 5 to start working 24/7, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. And of course, this can be like managed and planned. And, you know, that's why we hire coaches and we hire people to take us through this, right? Like, that's why people come into my program, Mastering the Art of Retreat Planning, because they want to like not have to be the ones going through the learning curve. They want someone who has done it in the past to teach them the road, to say, hey, don't overpack your schedule, take care of this, make sure that, you know, when someone signs up, immediately they get an email that says you're here, so they don't feel like they're being scammed.
Yeah.
You know, like
Little things really count. Yeah.
it's like, you know, the devil is in the details. It
Yeah.
really is. Right. So I think it's so important and so crucial when we're thinking about like people running retreats and hosting them and planning them and doing all this kind of like different pieces and marketing and sales and everything that it entitles it, that we
Yeah.
really keep forefront for who are we doing this,
Mm.
right? And it's not just attendees. Yes, they are a big piece, but also you need to think about you. What do you want to get as a retreat leader?
Yeah.
Like, what is your vision, your dreams from there? Like, what do you want to create? Do you want to create a 6-figure business with retreats? Is like, do you want to host just retreats? Like, I have a lot of clients who just want to host retreats.
Yeah.
That's it. They don't want to have online courses. Yes, they can do their email list and all these kind of things. But they don't want to like, they want to do in person. That's their thing, because they like nothing can beat in person. They're like, I want to do in person. I don't want to be running like challenges and this and that and all this kind of thing. So you want to figure out, what do you want to get out of this, right? Or if you love the hybrid version, right, where you have online courses and you have retreats, how does that look like in your life? How can you like incorporate them so they're not separate? A lot of people have, they run the two businesses like completely separate.
Yeah.
And I'm always telling them, no.
Yeah, the beautiful marriage is in between the two, where retreats become an additional beautiful offering to their coaching program that they're already doing. So people can learn what they're doing, go through the transformation over a longer term virtual process, or if they want to like kickstart things or accelerate their transformation, then they go to in person where they're going to get that much deeper out of it. And it's such a perfect marriage. I wish more people would do it that way, but I understand when people only want to do retreats because people want that, just that full, like deep experience too. And I think that like what you're speaking to too is making sure that they know how to do it sustainably. Like, why are you doing this? Ultimately, it's usually because you want to have impact and you want to help people.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing it in a way that's also serving you and filling your cup and giving you that sense of purpose and making it sustainable, then you're going to burn out. And then, like you said earlier when we were chatting, like, who does that help if we burn out because we don't know our systems, we don't know how to do it properly, or we're not getting enough in return, or it's only draining us or draining our finances to be able to put this on without replenishing us. So it's very important to make sure we keep that balance.
Yeah, I remember there was this post and you touched something, one of my favorite topics that is like about profitability, right? There was a post of someone on Facebook who said like, oh my gosh, is it okay if I lose money on my first retreat? And then there was a lot of comments from people saying, yes, on your first retreat, you should be losing $10,000. And there was another retreat coach that also like put something in there as well, like as well as me. And we were like, no, like why would you set yourself for failure on your first retreat?
Yeah. And $10,000 with failure is like enough to scare anybody from not doing it in the first place.
Yeah. Like, and honestly, like I teach a method inside of like my programs for some people who want it, that really the investment is so low that it doesn't matter if you don't like sell out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a hybrid kind of version. But anyway, I'm not gonna go into the details of that, but really like it's all about this space of like understanding where your business is at, where do you want to go, like how do you see your life in the future, right? And then putting the numbers behind it so you can actually have a business that is profitable, so you don't have to close your doors after 2 retreats because you're like, well, I never made any money.
Yeah.
That's your self for success. Come on, please.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
My early first retreats, one of my clients, we built it all out so that, yeah, she'd be in profit after I think only like 4 or 5. And she got the minimum amount of people that she needed to put it on. And it was her first international retreat. Actually, I think it was her first retreat in general. And she made $4,000 off of the way that we priced everything, versus like spilling out all this money and like not getting anything back. And then like, yeah, if you don't make money, like, I don't know, I was proud that we helped her to get that, but it so speaks to the need of like finding the people that have done this that can help you with this and like put everything into like a really beautiful formula, to make sure that, yeah, not only are all your expenses covered, all the venue is taken care of months in advance, because that's how you build out your guest registration deadlines according to the venue deadline, so you're not shelling out all this money, and really just making sure that you're getting paid for not only the time that you're taking away from like maybe your private clients, but then also the time that you're there, and for having developed this bigger initiative of a retreat or a bigger, like it's more developed content, anyway. So being reciprocated, like I just love the fact that it has to be reciprocated. It's like energy is money and money is energy.
Yeah, 100%. And you touched something very, very important. Like you just said, like people should be paid for like the money they're missing from private clients or group coaching on those days, right? And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that I see with people. They're like, they don't pay themselves to actually host a retreat. They see it as a business where like they're making just a profit as a business owner, but they're not paying themselves for being a facilitator on the retreat.
Yeah.
And you're missing money that week or those 5 days or whatever. You're losing money from those clients that you're not taking, or the marketing that you're not putting together and whatnot to host this retreat. So if you don't plan properly, you don't pay yourself as a facilitator, really what happens is that you're losing money, and it's actually not a smart business decision for your business, right? Because you're making less than what you would like to actually make if you just kept doing what you were doing in the past.
Yeah, and that's not sustainable, like doubly not sustainable, because then like what happens if you do that too much and then you start to get resentful of these retreats? Well, I'm gonna create this beautiful retreat, but I'm losing money because I'm not pricing it properly. Then you start to get resentful of the whole process. And I think it comes down to like a self-worth and self-value thing too, because like wouldn't you pay another facilitator to run this? Why wouldn't you pay yourself that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, what happens if like you broke your toe? No, I'm like, I've always put like, I'm like, but you cannot like do your thing, right? Like you cannot just go to the retreat anymore. Wouldn't you have to actually pay someone to go and cover for you?
Yeah,
Where
absolutely.
would that money come from if you
Mhm.
did not budget it inside of your pricing?
Yeah, absolutely.
It would come out from your profit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is that what a CEO of a company or a financial advisor from a company would actually like approve?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people like get into like this spiritual, oh, it's charity work, and it's like it's the spirituality of like I don't need to make any money off of this. But honestly, is that really sustainable? Is that really, are you really serving at your highest capacity if you're giving from an empty cup? Is that, the analogy that I use energetically? And so like it's the intentions behind it are beautiful, but it's a very much of a spiritual bypassing. It's like, well, why do you not think that you should deserve to be in profit or make any money out of this? Is when you certainly would pay other people. You're almost like it's
Oh,
am I
you're
trying?
sabotaging yourself to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're stopping the flow of more of that coming to you. Like the more that we feel like spirituality, and when money is and prosperity is such a spiritual thing, the more you feel like financially abundant and like rewarded for the things that you're doing, the more that you're going to be able to feel fulfilled and the more that you're going to be able to give. So if you stop that, I'm pointing to my back because I feels like it's like this flow of energy. Like if you stop that back here from coming through, then it limits your capacity to serve. So it's like it's very intertwined, and people really need to like kind of make that switch for themselves and know that if you're living on purpose, like you should be absolutely in prosperity for it. What you do with that is then you create more programs and you create more retreats, more ways to serve other people because you have the financial abundance to do so. But don't stop that flow.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like running one of my groups right now, and they always come up like they're very boutique processes because everyone gets to really share and create something very tailored for them, right? But there's always a thread, like they always have something in common. So like we were going through like actually like the whole business overview and where do retreats fit for your business and like the whole piece based on like their offerings and what they want to create, and then we break it into phases. Anyway, I will not bore all the you amazing audience
Sounds
with the details,
awesome.
but something that was very important is like I told them like, okay, you need to go into the stages, but the two of them, they actually have as part of their business plan nonprofits, right? They want to give back, and I told them like choose whatever you want but the nonprofits. You do not start with that. You start with everything else so you have the financial freedom to then give back. You
Yeah.
cannot give away what you don't have.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm guilty of that too. I started out, oh, my stuff's for free, not necessarily in retreats, but earlier in like my 20s and stuff. It's like this bleeding heart syndrome that I feel like I had, and a lot of people have, is like, you're so right. Like you cannot give to a nonprofit. You cannot give when you're not bringing in the profit to be able to give to it. It's basically just like running things for free. And again, that just depletes your own like sense of like passion for why you even started. And it's so, I'm really glad you touched on that because it's really important for people to hear this kind of stuff. You
Oh
don't have
yeah.
to do anything for free. You can have like scholarships, or you can have a sliding scale for those who do need it. But there's plenty of people who can pay for it, and let them be the ones to like pay the full price and then to allow you to have scholarship options, or take like 5% of what you earn from your profits and put that into a scholarship. Like there's ways that you can self-fund yourself, but you have to be in profit to do that.
Yeah, like it's like this thing that I like I love this story where it says like how can you ask a kid who's starving to meditate? You can't, because that kid is thinking about what he's going to eat next. He
Mhm.
cannot focus on like we have to cover the like the Maslow pyramid, right? Safety,
Mhm.
food, house, and then from there you can go and move on to like the top, that is like the spiritual piece. Like if you
Yeah.
don't have those like your basis, your foundation set, it's so hard for you to really focus on being someone who is like completely like giving everything away. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even the people who have given so much back into the world have had to get funding from some other people to actually put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
it comes from somewhere. It's not just like, like I want to say like money does not grow on trees, right? So you cannot go and pluck this, like you can go get the fruits, sell them, and then give that. But if you don't eat, you won't have the energy to actually go sell those fruits so you can give it back to someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's all
Yeah.
about like filling your cup.
Absolutely. There's an old saying, like it's hard to be spiritual when you're worried about your bills getting paid or your rent to be paid. Like it's survival versus like spirituality has like this connotation of being like for the elite, not even the elite, but for those who like don't have the same survival things. And it can be a tool and a vehicle to like keep ourselves like from, getting too much into the survival stuff and like really it can uplift us, but they're not mutually exclusive. And I think that, yeah, I think that's a good example. I
Yeah.
completely lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Something that comes to mind that I've seen in like a lot of retreat leaders that I've like sometimes like overseen, and usually when they don't take my advice, and it's not, it sounds a little bit crazy, but I do not force anyone to do anything they do not want, because people need to go try, test, and figure out if it works for them or not. But something that I've seen a lot is people who do not price a retreat properly, and they're thinking about this like mindset of like, oh, people don't have money to pay for this. I'm sorry, like there's people who have like so many cars inside of their garage. There's people who can pay, right?
Yeah.
But they're like, oh no, I'm gonna put it in this price because if not, like people will not be able to come, and they feel like they're taking money away from other people. And by doing that, what happens is they're not really fulfilling their cup. They don't have the money. And what happens once they're inside of their retreat is like halfway into the retreat, they're already in the next thing. Like they're already thinking about what program they're going to launch or what retreat, so they can actually make money, because they're like, I didn't make any money. So they're in survival mode. And are you really serving the people that actually paid to come to this retreat the way
Yes,
they deserve? Because you're
absolutely.
thinking about paying rent, you're thinking about your mortgage, you're thinking about like how are you going to afford the rest of your travel, because you decided to do an international retreat, and you wanted to do it far away from your house, and you had like a plan to travel for 3 months, financed by the retreat, and then later on, you know what I mean? And then you're like thinking like,
Yeah.
now what am I going to do? Like, and you're not
Yeah.
really serving the people who actually paid.
Yes. And I love that because it's like it speaks to like what vibration that we carry and what mindsets we carry that translates into who shows up for us. So if we're coming from a scarcity mindset and we think that we have to like appeal to people who have a scarcity mindset, then it's a self-fulfilling thing. And then we're all just stuck in like this lower vibration. It's like people they don't value what they don't have to, people don't value what they get for free. If you underprice your retreat, like, oh, it's only gonna be $1,000 or it's only gonna be $1,500, that person doing that, they're like, oh, that's easy money, even if I don't get everything out of it. So are they gonna show up in the same way as if they said, here's $5,000. I am coming to this retreat. This is the promise that you promised me I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to show up 100%, and I expect you to do that too. That's a much different energy. And if we're not showing up in that same way because we're like, oh, it's only $1,500 per person. Oh, I'll work kind of half-ass on this. No, we all need to make sure that we're showing up. And sometimes the money is that energy because it's more significant. Again, it's not about the money, it's the energy behind it and the intentionality behind it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And look, I've seen these like in the space, like when someone wants something and they really are they want to change and transform something into their lives, they'll be like, I'm doing this, right? And I've seen this with people who are like, oh yes, I want to join your retreat program. And they suddenly like, you know what, I thought about it, and it's not the right time. I don't have I don't have the money. And then suddenly like they come back like a few months later and like, oh, you know what? And I went and I joined this program as like 100K. And now I'm like, I am not fulfilled. I should have like signed up for your program. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Like it's all about the perceived value for people to actually say yes or no into your retreats, right? So if they really want to make it happen, they're going to figure it out. They're going to ask you, can I do payments? They're going to go borrow the money. They're going to put it on their credit cards. They're going to do whatever they have to do because they're so certain that this is the right thing for them.
Exactly. And you touch again on the like definitely recommend retreat leaders make it easy for people to say yes. Offer payment plans. We offer a firm, that third-party financing, that they take care of the details with the client, and that the client can then come. Like, make it easy for them. Yes, not every, like, yeah, money doesn't grow on trees. It's not, not a lot of people. I mean, depends on what market you're looking at, but it's hard to go and like pick $5,000 off a tree and like, here's my retreat. So like making it easier, like we have a membership program where people can attend 1, 2, 3 retreats per year and pay for it over the course of a year, and then have like access to like integration work on the back end and these courses in our resource library, but you pay for it over the course of a time, and that allows it to be more accessible to people. Like do what you need to do to like help people, but you're not going to help them by discounting or charging too little for it, because then they're not going to show up in the same way.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like, of course, there's different types of retreats, different price points. And, it also has to do a lot with like the transformation. So we're not telling you here, like, oh my gosh, you need to go and charge 10,000 per person. And you're new and you haven't been a coach for 6 months and you cannot prove transformation. Right.
Yeah.
You do need to be an expert on your field, whatever it is, and then you can charge whatever you want, but you need to be an expert in your field. If you're very, very new into this space, of course, like you're not going to promise something you cannot deliver, right? Because it's also about like, it's not just about the money. It's not about profitability only. It's about being heart-centered and having integrity and values.
100%. Yeah. And you can't skip all that just because you want to start doing retreats. Like I'm very particular about who I work with. And if I get any hint of somebody just like, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money doing retreats, it's like, I'm not going to work with you, and you kind of have to find a nice way of saying that. But no, it's about the people. Like, again, going back to like, if you're called to this work, this sacred work of retreats, like that's special, first and foremost. And you should be prosperous to be able to, prosperous enough to be able to do that. Yeah.
Lauren, this conversation has been absolutely amazing and so wonderful. I hope everyone in the audience is enjoying this time, and really like we're putting your brains to work a little bit and think about like, oh, but like if you're already hosting retreats, am I doing this right? Like, could I go and change something? What is like this or that, right? Like these little details. And then from there, like think about like, am I being profitable? Could I be more profitable? Am I an expert? What can I offer? Like really like get your brains thinking into the space of like, what are the possibilities? Like, am I really embedding my business with like my coaching program, for example? Like I work mostly with like people who are coaches and therapists. So am I really embedding this piece with my retreats, or they feel completely separate? What problems am I solving? So really like use this episode as an opportunity to question absolutely everything from your retreat business.
I love that. Yeah. And just kind of like just work those muscles a little bit. Like, the more that you have, and like, especially, if speaking to you, like, kids you've worked with, like, yeah, the coaches and therapists, like you've spent a lot of time investing in yourself. Consider this an investment that your guest is making in themselves, and create that high caliber, high impact retreat that energetically fulfills you and fulfills your guest.
Amazing. And Lauren, how can people find more about you?
Yeah, my website is orionretreats.com. So Orion, like the constellation, retreats plural.com. You'll see that I do retreat planning. We have a number of retreats that we're hosting for next year in 2026 around the globe, between myself and my team of facilitators. But yeah, we're in a really big growth phase right now. And I love the people that we're connecting with and being able to help and serve in this way. And we just launched a retreat membership too, where guests can then kind of pick and find like their perfect retreat for themselves, and then have greater access to that community and that way of making it financially easeful for them.
I love this. Thank you so much, Lauren, for being here. And for all of you who've been listening to this episode, thank you so much for being here. If you like this episode, you can leave us a comment below, and we hope to see you again. Bye.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, what a great episode. If you like our podcast, How to Run Profitable Retreats, leave us a review and share it with a friend.